in the bathroom, so we can get a call.
Okay, and is there any other? Yeah, I haven't heard.
How are you?
Good, how are you?
Good morning.
Good morning. Your hair's long.
I'm getting it this afternoon. That whole curly from the operation.
Looks cool. Do I have anybody that wants to speak on any of the cases? Okay, so, I should say public comment, like on any of the cases? Like, do you want, anybody want to approach the public portion on any of the cases, in favor or opposition? Okay.
Literally 3 blocks from there, there's another elementary school that was built for like 600, but they only had like 2 kids. And so let's close this one and put everybody in that school. They're only 3 blocks, 4 blocks apart. So we had a community forum, talk about this thing.
240 people meeting opposition.
Oh, way more than that. We filled it out. The gym seats were full. People were standing around the outside. And they were all angry.
Steve, can you hear me?
We hear you.
You're going to have to chair the meeting today. Dr. Zerniak, I called him yesterday. He won't be able to attend, okay?
Not it. Just kidding.
Bob's not coming, I take it?
Well, at least we have Mel with Mel on the phone at 5. With Mel on the phone at 5.
As long as he doesn't fall asleep.
I hadn't heard. Okay. Did you get a package, Sean?
we ready?
Yeah, let's do it.
Everybody ready? All right, thank you. All right. Good morning, everyone. Welcome to the Doñana County Planning and Zoning Commission regular meeting, August 25th. At this time, Eileen, would you call the roll, please?
Commissioner Zargis,
Here.
Commissioner Herrera. Here. Commissioner Lear,
Here.
Commissioner Acosta,
Present?
Commissioner.
Hello, can you hear me?
Yes.
Okay, thank you.
Commissioner Lear,
Here.
Commissioner Castañeda absent, and Commissioner Zerniak absent. Chair Montañez.
Here. Okay, this time we'll call for any approval or changes to today's agenda.
Move the agenda as presented.
A second.
All right, moved and seconded. All in favor, signify please by saying aye.
Aye.
All right, any opposed? Okay, agenda is approved. Next item is approval of the minutes for regular meeting of August 11th.
I'll move that we approve the minutes from the regular meeting of August 11th, 2022.
Second.
Okay, moved and second. All in favor, signify please by saying aye.
Aye.
Okay. Minutes are approved. We have currently no old business. We'll move on to new business. Case number SU 22-018. Albert, you have the floor, sir.
Good morning.
Good morning, Eileen.
Please raise your right hand and state your name and address for the record.
Albert Casillas, 845 North Motel Boulevard.
Do you affirm the testimony you're about to give is the truth under penalty of law?
I do.
Thank you.
Yes, sorry, if you go to the planning folder and under P&Z presentations. Oh, all right, thanks. Good morning, Commissioners. Our first case today under agenda item 5A, we have a special use permit. The applicant is Mr. Lozano. The property location is 903 Ranch Road, Anthony, New Mexico. The zoning is T2, rural zone. And the request is to a special use permit to operate a cannabis micro business producer establishment for the cultivation of cannabis. And then just to remind you, the micro business is the one that's limited to 200 mature plants. Here we have a location map. It's a 3-acre property off of Ranch Road. You can't really see it here, but the access to this property is a private easement that goes through the surrounding farms, and I'll show you a survey right now. But this is the parcel right here with multiple accessory structures, and there's also a dwelling on site. The proposed location for the micro business is going to be this smaller, it's going to be this accessory building right here, and I'll show you guys some pictures. But it's basically the last building on the property, from the entrance. So it is a 3-acre parcel, T2. Currently it's being assessed as residential by the county assessor's office. There's an existing 2,100 square foot site-built home constructed back in the 60s. You saw in the area that there's multiple accessory structures that were built, through the 60s, 70s, and 80s. Square footage ranges in size from 1,500 to 2,400. Some of the aerial photography that we have here, going back to 83, you can already see some of the structures that are there. And then in 94, you already see all of them already being on site. The property will be served by a septic tank for wastewater, and there's already a water well there under LRG 738. So here's an aerial from 1983. This is a subject parcel. You can already see that some of the structures are there. And then when we go to 94, well, that's all of them right there. So they've been there for quite some time already. Access to the property, we already saw that a 25-foot road and utility easement running through the Nogales LLC property. And then this connects to Ranch Road, which is a private 20-foot easement. The property was originally a 2.42 acre lot. In 2010, they went through a claim of exemption to do a lot line adjustment, and then that's how we ended up with the 3-acre parcel. On April 10th of this year, the applicant received approval from the Cannabis Control Division for his microbusiness producer license. So he already has the state permit for that. Here's a closer look on the property. And like I mentioned before, this is the property where they're, the structure where they're going to be running the micro business out of, and it's only off of this building right here. The driveway, the entrance to the property is through here. This is the Nogales property right here, and they do have that 25-foot easement.
Who owns and maintains that easement out
It's all the research that I did through all the warranty deeds, it's owned by, it's within the Nogales property, but it's an agreement, or it is an easement. It is recorded on there. So who owns the easement? Well, it's in the Nogales LLC, but it serves this property. When you look at the zoning map, it's basically T2 all around. So Mr. Lozano, what he's requesting, he originally submitted for the SUP under the administrative process. There were letters in opposition, so that's what triggered the public hearing today. But the applicant is proposing to cultivate up to 200 mature cannabis plants out of that 50 by 40 pole barn. His establishment is going to include the following. So he's going to have the growing room for drying and curing. There's going to be a safe storage room and an office. Basically, the office is going to contain all the security monitoring systems. No more than 5 people will be working on site at one time, including the applicant. And no more than 4 cars a day will be coming in and out of the property. No clients are going to be allowed on the property. Hours of operation are from 8 a.m. to 5 p.m., 7 days a week. And there are no plans of opening a dispensary on the property. It's just going to be the workers on site. So overall, on the site plan, I kind of circled here in red where that building's located. This is that 25-foot easement going through the Nogales property, serving the 3-acre parcel. You see it, there's a dwelling, and then most of the other structures are just barns, pole barns, sheds. Here's just a zoom in of the floor plan. So you basically have the main entrance here to the garage. This is where the office is going to be at. You have a safe room, the flowering room where they're going to be, growing the plants, and also the storage. 14 letters were sent out as part of the notification requirements. Everything was posted on the Sun News. Signs were posted on the property. And of course, we got emails in opposition for the administrative SUP. So some of the comments, if you go through the letters, in the letters of opposition, most of the concerns have to do with additional traffic there. Ranch Road has 1 point to exit and enter. There's concerns about security and increase in crime, odor concerns, and the negative effect on ability to live peacefully and safely. Here's one of the signs that was posted for the hearing today. And those were the properties that were notified. So when we look at the property, and I'll show you more pictures, but basically this is the one where the applicant's going to be working out of. You got the main garage door and then the door that leads into the office. Here's just another picture of it. And like I said, I mean, this is the building that's closer to the southern property line. When you drive into the property, this is basically what you see. You see the existing home down here. You can see the proposed building there in the back, and then just a lot of accessory structures on site. So here's another look of what's there. And this was a really cool sign right here. It's used to be the Colonia Chili Company, owned by Didi Somerville. I guess back in the 80s. That's as far as when I was looking at some of the deeds, you know, that name popped up a lot, Somerville and I think Johnson were some of the names that were popping up on those deeds. Here's a closer look at that sign. And then you drive around the property, and then you see more structures. Here's another picture of what's out there. Let me show you guys just Ranch Road, or what the access looks like. This is Highway 28, and this is the entrance to Ranch Road. You're basically driving into that 20-foot easement. It's pretty well maintained. It is graveled. You see a fence on both sides of the road going all the way, you know, pretty much almost all the way up to the property. There are some existing homes here at the entrance of Ranch Road. And from this point to the 3-acre parcel, it's approximately a little bit more than a mile all the way to drive into the property.
Albert, just a quick question. Is Ranch Road the only access point to Highway 28?
From what I could tell, to this property, yes. This property has no other, I mean, the applicant can probably address it, but there might be another way around if you keep on going through Ranch Road, but I'm not sure if it dead ends or it connects to maybe another farm road out there.
Thank you.
So here we're driving further into the property. Here's another picture. And this is Ranch Road right here, and this is basically the entrance into the 3-acre parcel. So this is the little road that goes in through the Nogales property, and then into Mr. Lozano's 3-acre parcel. And that's basically the main entrance right here. So when we look at SUPs, we got to look at some of the decisional criteria under the UDC. It's pretty much 1 through 7, and I'll go through them right now. But we also got to look at Section 502G, which kind of outlines the requirements for cannabis establishments. There's no daycare or school within 300 feet of this parcel. Under a micro business, he's allowed to grow up to 200 plants. So under the land use matrix, you know, it basically outlines, you know, what kind of a cannabis establishment you can have in different zoning designations, and whether or not if you're assessed as ag, you know, that really helps people out. In this case, because it's only a 3-acre parcel, you saw that it was just a lot of, you know, buildings that at some time were used for agricultural uses. Because there's nothing being farmed on site, it still falls under a residential assessment, not an agricultural assessment. So because they don't have that ag assessment on site, they have to apply for the special use permit. And basically that's our cheat sheet here for T2. The cannabis microbusiness producer, you got to be assessed as ag in order to operate that. And then other uses in the T2 that are allowed with the special use permit includes recreation sports facilities, commercial greenhouses, commercial stables, mini storage units, wrecking services, wine tasting rooms or wineries. When we look at 204D for the decisional criteria, there's minimal impacts to traffic flows. There's only going to be 5 people employed on site, including the property owner. No more than 4 vehicles a day will be coming in and out. We know that the Cannabis Regulation Act was adopted. The property right now is being assessed as ag, it's not being assessed as ag, so that's why we're here for the SUP. Here's a copy of the already approved Cannabis Control Division license. The applicant does have commercial water rights via that permit for LRG 738, so he's already handled that. And wastewater is going to be handled through an approved septic tank by NMED. So we do believe that there is existing infrastructure in place to support the proposed use. There's been no evidence submitted that there are endangered or rare species of animal and plant life in the area. So impacts are going to be minimal. I mean, we've already known that the state requires a whole lot of security measures on site, so the applicant's going to have to comply with all those. Per the applicant, the nearest neighbor to the proposed growing facility will be 500 feet away. Hours of operation will be from 8 a.m. to 5 p.m. Monday through Sunday, and there's going to be minimal impact to existing traffic. And during construction or the remodel of the proposed growing facility, he's going to have to follow best management practices. So we do believe that the applicant meets this section of the code for decisional criteria. It is supported by our staff findings as well. And then so today we're basically recommending conditional approval for this case. We do have a couple of conditions on here that any remodel, any new construction proposed to be used for the establishment will be required to meet all the applicable construction, fire, and life safety codes. Applicants only limited to 200 mature plants. Transportation and the shipping of cannabis products shall be by employees in their private non-commercial vehicles. It shall be limited to the hours of 8 a.m. to 5 p.m. Monday through Friday. They will need an approved permit from EBID to cross that lower Chumbarino lateral that was there closer to Highway 28. We've already contacted them, well, they've already contacted us, and EBID has already told us that they are in talks with the applicant already about obtaining the crossing permit. But we are making that a condition for approval. So with those 4 conditions, that's the end of our presentation for conditional approval for this case. So we stand for questions.
Mr. Chair, I have a question. Albert, when you were talking about what was allowed in a T2, one of the items was a commercial greenhouse. Why is this not considered a commercial greenhouse?
It's because that's what the amendments call out for. You know, when we were going through the cannabis amendments, I'm sure that was also part of the discussion as well. You know, why isn't this similar just to a commercial greenhouse if you're growing cannabis or tomatoes or lettuce or whatever under a greenhouse? But that's what the code calls out for right now. They don't have that ag assessment, so they do require, the code does require them to go through that SUP.
Okay, thanks.
A commercial greenhouse would still require an SUP for construction.
Yes, no, yes. Yeah.
Chair, I have a question.
Commissioner?
Number 4 there on staff recommendation, approved permit from EBIT to cross lower Chamberino lateral. Is that the same one that they're using right now to access their property?
No, so right now, that's the lateral that's closer to, if I can go back to the. Basically, this is Highway 28, yeah, Ranch Road, and that's the lateral right here.
Mm-hmm.
So that's, that's an EBID ditch, and so they need to get a crossing permit for that.
For commercial, not residential?
Yes.
Okay.
Or whatever EBID calls it out as.
Okay. Thank you.
Any other questions for Mr. Casillas? Okay. This time, the applicant would like to make a presentation.
Mr. Montañez, is your
sorry.
microphone on?
Yes, it is. Mine just kind of quiet. Sorry about that.
That's okay, thank you.
All right, this time we'll hear from the applicant.
Will, can we get the applicant's PowerPoint up? Thank you.
Testing 1, 2.
I will need to swear you in, please.
Sorry.
Please raise your right hand and state your name and address for the record.
903 Ranch Road, Robert Lozano, 903 Ranch Road, New Mexico, 88021.
Do you affirm the testimony you're about to give is the truth under penalty of law?
Yes, ma'am.
Thank you.
Appreciate all having me today. It's been a long process, but I'm very happy to be here, and I appreciate Albert for all his help. 903 Ranch Road, Anthony. I just wanted to first just going over the concerns of my neighbors, without to speak with a couple of them, just to kind of touch base and see why they opposed the application and the approval of this license. And the majority of them thought I was going to be opening up a dispensary on the property. And right away, I told them right away that that would not be the issue. I currently work in the industry. I have as a general manager as a dispensary in Anthony. So there would be never any business other than the cultivation of cannabis on the property. So that is my first thing. Neighbors thinking I would open up a dispensary, Ranch Road maintenance, additional traffic. Ranch Road has one point of entrance. There is the entrance up into Ranch Road that kind of on Google Maps will turn around and go back into Cox, but you have to go through Cox Farm to get to the other side of Ranch Road to get through. So it's really difficult to get in any other way. Concerns of security, we are required to have pretty intense security systems, have to be monitored 24/7, and have the ability to contact emergency services if necessary. Odor concerns, negative effect ability to live peacefully and safely, storage of cash on site, and water and sewage issues. Resolutions, I do not plan on opening a dispensary and never will. I only plan on growing indoors, never plan on growing outdoors. I want to keep it in private. I want to just keep all plants out of sight. To address the traffic issue, I have an approval letter from Miss Yolanda Alvarez, which is a private business owner in Anthony, and she actually owns the building that we rent the dispensary out of. And she allowed me to use her Gillette Insurance parking lot to park and all of our employees' parking, and I can carpool from there. So I would looking to reduce those 4 to 5 cars a day just to one, just to reduce the amount of traffic, because I do understand it is a small road, 25 feet dirt road, so I just want to reduce the amount of traffic there, and I don't want it to hurt the area. The security systems, like I said, we are required to have a pretty in-depth system, and we will definitely have the best system that we can have to ensure our safety as well as my family's safety, because we do live out there. To address the smell concerns, carbon filters will be used inside the grow facilities and different areas in the building, just so we can make sure we scrub all the smell and that I'm not dispersing any smell or cannabis smell into the area. I want the same as my neighbors to live peacefully and safely on my property with my family. It is not my goal to bring unwanted attention, crime, major issues, or traffic to the property that I live on. Storing cash, like I said, I work in the industry out of the dispensary, so all products will be sold out of that dispensary, and there will not be cash held on 903 Ranch Road. We have armored cars that come through, and they would be taking all cash from dispensary and not from 903 Ranch Road. We will never have any business other than moving cannabis flower out of there. And I've already contacted EBID and obtained application for permission to upgrade that lower lateral, because my neighbors they just had a big issue with that road not being maintained by anybody other than the farmers. So I just wanted to see how I could help to kind of get that bridge and that road at the inches of Ranch Road up to current code, and just to help out the neighbors. Odor control, we have big carbon filters. Right there, you have on the right side calculated what I would need for the amount of plants and the size of the building. So I just need about 3 to 4 of these carbon filters going nonstop to be able to circulate the air and scrub it of all cannabis smell, and then kind of exhaust it out of the building from there. Reverse osmosis, we'll be using reverse osmosis from pulling the groundwater out, and as well as the wastewater. I will be able to capture that water, throw it through a reverse osmosis system, and dispose of it however in those septic tank or however the farmers are needed to do as well. So I just definitely don't want to be throwing nitrates into the groundwater, and definitely don't want to be affecting any of the aquifers or anything beneath us. Property description, like I already had, 3-acre property, commercial water rights. I have 4 2,000 square foot buildings on the property, 8,000 square foot space. Property sits 1.3 miles away from the entrance of Ranch Road and Highway 28. And my closest neighbor was 500 feet away. He was one of the foremans on the pecan orchard for Mr. Diaz, but no longer lives there because the dwelling was too small for him and his family, and they have currently moved elsewhere. The water rights to LRG 738, I have 6 acre-foot of water, which is just under 2 million gallons of commercial water. And before, in the past, with the other chili processing plants, those plants had about 220 acre-foot of water that they were using yearly. It was a lot less than them. Water usage for 200 plants, 1 gallon a day, would be about 73,000 gallons a year just for the 200 plants. So with 6 acre-foot of commercial water available, and with that, it comes out to just under 2 million gallons. I'll be using less than 4% of the water that I have on the property. Previous property owners, you could see there have been quite a bit of farms, and you can see the Somerville property. Construction, when we went to the aerials, were in 1994, you can see that those buildings were constructed. In 1996, they were up and functioning. And with the property that big, they had, it seemed like they had quite a bit of employment, people going in there and out of there and doing a lot of work with chili. You can see the Google Maps, it's 1.3 miles away from Ranch Road. And you could also, you see the kind of the lighter directions, that would be through Cox Farm Road, but it's very difficult because you have to go through Cox Farm to get to there. The Google will show you that the blue line will take you all the way to the back end of the property, but that dotted line, you cannot get through Mr. Baron's property that way. So I've marked it in red with the arrows and the easement that you have to access through the Nogales farm to get to 903 Ranch Road.
Mr. Lozano?
Yes, sir.
Before you change slides.
Yes, sir.
Actually, go to the next slide.
Yes, sir.
In this little block of Ranch Road, the 900 block, if you will, how many residential dwellings would you say are right there?
On my property? There's 2 ones really old and would just be used for storage or either thrown down, and just mine, the 2,100
So
square
there's
foot.
mostly accessory dwellings?
Yeah, absolutely. And I'll get closer so you can
And
see.
you still have residents that are on that block?
No, it's just me.
Okay. Thank you.
Thank you. And so that you can see, I got off Zillow, the lot lines. To the east of it is all Diaz, so you can see all the pecans. I'm in the center, and then around me would be Mr. Baron's 12 acres right behind me, so we both use the same easement to access both of our properties, but you cannot access our properties from the end of Ranch Road where it showed us in the beginning. Where the blue arrows is that building the furthest from the existing neighbor that is no longer there. Everything that's grayed out will never be used for commercial use or cannabis production. Those are all just residential, or at some point might be thrown down just because they're just older buildings. Anything that green, red, or orange are still are functioning. The pole barns, if I was ever able to increase a plant count, or if the state ever allowed, those would be the next buildings. But at the moment, the only building that will be used for all production is the blue one on the furthest south. This is the drawing of the interior of the building. Green room would be our flower room, and I have the safe room in the back left. Again, I'm trying to keep everything as far away. The safe will be in the back room, the hallway. Everything I plan to do, all production of all cannabis manufacturing, everything in there, just to take care of it and not have to use much of the property. This is the building that I'll be using, just kind of standalone, nice pole barn, just kind of from the front entrance, it's really barely visible from the entrance, and if you're on the back end of the Ranch Road, you can see the roof, but you can't really see it from any other points unless you're standing on Mr. Baron's little plateau that he plans to build a home there. And then closing, it is not my intention to bring unwanted attention to my neighbors or my family. I'm from Anthony, and the last thing I want to do is be a burden to my neighbors. The reason I bought the property is because I love this area and I grew up here. The people of Anthony are different. Everybody respects and looks out for each other, and I am no different. The only difference between me and my neighbors is the crop that I grow and how it's grown. That is the end of it. Thank you.
Thank you very much. Any questions for Mr. Lozano?
Yeah, I got a question. So you're saying that what you're gonna grow there in Chambrino is gonna go directly to your store in Anthony?
Yes, sir. I plan to do that. I have no other intentions to I have the retail license, so at some point, maybe we'll open up a retail license in an approved area, but it won't be in 903 Ranch Road. Thinking maybe Ruidoso, somewhere in Sunland Park, but not on that area. I have the license available, but it's not my plan. Dispensaries are very expensive to start, to run, so I just thought I would just stick with the cultivation of what I know and just kind of have the supply chain already with Rocky Mountain Cannabis, who I currently work for.
Right, and your store's located right there on Main Street?
Yes, sir.
Right,
Right there by El Camarón, and then right in front of Mr. Baca's.
Right, I
big
know
white
where it's at.
building.
I
Yes, sir.
live in
So-
Anthony, so.
So we opened that store in April 27th, so we're doing pretty good. I know we wrote a pretty nice tax check to Anthony for after our first quarter, and we just want to keep that going. I just want to be able to provide employment to the area. We employ 10 people, so that's at least $300,000 that we're employing to individuals, young individuals, and the amount of money that will go back into Anthony is tenfold. So we just want to be able to keep Anthony's money in Anthony instead of just like the bigger out-of-state guys. We are technically an out-of-state company, but everybody is from Anthony and everything stays in Anthony. And we want to do nothing but the best for Anthony.
Yeah, one more question. How about your security for the, the growth there in Chamberino? I know the state has pretty stringent.
They do.
And you plan to fence it in?
Absolutely.
Barbed wire? concertina?
When I have finances available, I would like to fence in the whole property, but to begin with, if necessary, I'd like to do like just metal fencing around the building to ensure, like, if anybody was trying to get in, they would have to get through 2 different fences. But it's following the same thing that dispensaries and all the other cultivations in New Mexico, they require 24/7 security systems. They have to have the ability to contact or emergency services if necessary. So we will go through everything that every other cultivation and dispensaries have to follow. So we are working with Eagle Security, and there are other security companies that will be in line just to help us get where we need to be.
Thank you.
Thank you.
Yes? No questions? Commissioner Lear, any questions? Okay, thank you. Commissioner Costa, any questions for me, sir?
Hello? Can you hear me?
Yes, sir.
Did you have any questions of me?
No, I was asking if you had any questions of the applicant.
No, thank you.
Thank you. Okay, thank you
Thank
very
you.
much.
Thank you.
All right, at this point, we'll move to public comment. Are there any members of the public that wanted to speak in favor or opposition to this application? I'm sorry.
Good morning. Please state your name and address for the record.
Nicole Fox, 4290 Rocky Acres Trail.
Do you affirm the testimony you're about to give is the truth under penalty of law?
I do.
Thank you.
I'm speaking in support of Mr. Lozano. I am a technical writer and consultant in the cannabis industry and also one of the founders of the Southwest Cannabis Trade Association. I just wanted to speak in support of him because obviously he's very knowledgeable, very intelligent, very informed on what the rules and regulations are that he needs to comply with. He's done all the footwork. He's followed the advice of everyone. Obviously, he's worked cooperatively with Albert to get here. There's no reason for his special use permit to be denied. In regards to security, I just wanted to speak shortly about how the security requirements are very stringent. So he's required to have an alarm company that monitors his door alarms and the property 24/7. He also has to be able to view it on his cell phone, be able to give Cannabis Control Division access to that cell phone at any time so they can look at his cameras. He is not required to have human security, but he knows that's available to him and what companies can provide that. So I just want to say that Robert has done his due diligence and is in compliance and should be awarded his special use permit. Thank you.
Thank you very much. Anyone else? Thank you.
Good morning.
Thank you, Mr. Oh,
Please state your name and address for the record.
hi, Scott Kraling, 1320 Foxtrot Court.
Do you affirm the testimony you're about to give is the truth under penalty of law?
I do.
Thank you.
Thank you. Mr. Chair, Commissioners, thank you. I appreciate the opportunity to talk in support of this effort. My name is Scott Kraling. I work for High Horse Cannabis Dispensary. We're a cannabis business here locally. We have a store in Chaparral, soon to be a couple here in Las Cruces. And we're very interested in how our community is treating the cannabis industry in general. And so that's the main reason that I'm here, is because I want to make sure that there's always someone around to keep us steered in a positive direction as this industry develops and grows in our community. To talk about the medical value of cannabis and why it's a good thing for our community and nothing that we should fear. I didn't hear any of that today, so I'm not going to get into those details. But what I did want to share with you all is one thing that I think that I've heard in several cases is the restriction on plant count to 200. And that makes sense because the micro license is currently regulated by state law to 200 plants. However, that's the only license that's regulated in state law to the quantity of plants. The other production licenses are all set by administratively through the CCD. And so because of that, and because of some decisions that they made to increase the plant count for the large producers, the micro licenses are kind of behind in their plant count. And so last year, the legislature approached this and tried to introduce an increase from that 200 to 1,000 in the state law, so that micro producers or small businesses could compete with the big guys who had their numbers increased from 10,000 to 20,000. And so unfortunately, it didn't make it, but not because of political opposition, just because it was a short session and it was difficult to get things through that aren't priorities of leadership. And so I anticipate that change will be coming in the near future. And so one thing that I think about when I see the restriction, the 200 plant count being put into the decisions being made here, is how will that impact his ability to grow to 1,000, which I know that it's hard and maybe now is not the right time, and this may be for a longer conversation. But 1,000 to 200, the impact that it has isn't that significant. And so perhaps rather than the Planning and Zoning putting a condition on the 200 plant count, the Planning and Zoning Commission should put a requirement that this is for a micro business. This is not for the other production licenses. And that way, as the state changes what is and isn't a micro business, he can also change his business. And wouldn't have to come back here to increase counts and things like that. Just a suggestion I wanted to throw out there. Don't really know how it fits into the staff's plans for the future, but it's something that we're seeing over and over, and it may change. So that was all. Thank you. Appreciate the opportunity.
Thank you.
Mr.
Albert,
Chair,
yes, Commissioner, go ahead.
I have a question. This is for staff. So if the state changes the requirements or the allotted plants, like from 200 to 1,000, is he automatically allowed to go to 1,000, or does he have to come back and get permission to go to 1,000 in that particular area?
Commissioner Herrera, Chair Montañez, the applicant would have to come back and request probably another special use permit or amendment to his original approval. It is a condition. He's limited by his submittal, his site plan, and the code right now. So if the state was to make any changes to that account, then we would have to come back and, at a minimum, amend our cannabis amendment sections to incorporate those new changes. So just to answer the question, if the state goes up to 1,000, the applicant's still limited to 200. You would have to come back again.
Say a micro business that's also doing retail is still limited to 200, depending on the type of application that they apply for. Correct. So there wouldn't be, like you said, they would still have to come before your department to increase the number, and there would still need to be a discussion on whether or not there were increased security requirements or even an increased traffic impact for 1,000 plants. Mr. Kraling's, stated he doesn't really see a big difference between a 200 plant establishment and a 1,000 plant. I tend to differ with you on that, Mr. Krayling. I think that's a very significant number, which would require, again, additional security and additional traffic impact.
But if those changes do come at the state level, then of course, we would have to be, we're going to have to go through public hearings and all that for the amendments themselves, and at that point, then we can all just throw around our ideas and recommendations.
Okay, thank you. Okay. Any additional public input? I'm sorry, ma'am, you've already spoken. Let's,
sorry.
Now, I'm sorry, this is just an open discussion regarding, I mean, the future, since it has been brought up. I don't really want to put us in a position where we're debating the difference between 200 and 1,000 plants at this point.
So may I?
Absolutely.
Good morning. Please state your name and address for the record.
Richard Christopher Barone, 915 Ranch Road. And excuse me if I'm a little nervous.
Do you
I get excited.
do you affirm the testimony you're about to give is the truth under penalty of law?
Yes, ma'am, I do.
Thank you.
Good morning, commissioners. I'm Richard Christopher Barone. I'm Mr. Lozano's neighbor. I came ill-prepared. I don't have my own slide of the property.
How close do you live to him?
I'm his direct neighbor. My property encompasses Mr. Lozano's property. I'm at 915 Ranch Road, and I've got the 12 acres. I don't know if we have a slide where I could actually point it out to you guys if you'd like to see it. Mr. Montanez, I believe you brought up the concern of the traffic specifically on Ranch Road into the said property. I've been there for approximately 12 years, and the residential homes that you can access from Ranch Road on the top tier, there is traffic that flows currently of the numerous people that live on the top at Ranch Road. So there is regular traffic that takes place on that road currently. In addition to that, the Nogales have a composting commercial facility, commercial area right off of Ranch Road. So technically, it's already being used for commercial compost processing.
How close is that to Highway 20, or how close is that to the highway?
I would say it is maybe 1,000 feet from Mr. Lozano and I's entranceway, so it's right at a mile from 28, off of Highway 28, and there's a long strip that Los Nogales is doing their composting facility, and there's plenty of signage and everything notifying that it is a commercial composting facility for Los Nogales. So there's already commercial activity for farming. And to be quite honest, once Mr. Lozano bought the property, I was relieved because there's just a bunch of empty buildings. And to see that old chili farm getting brought back to life, I think that's super cool. You know, there's no new construction of new buildings and the footprint is good. You know, I mean, to repurpose existing structures, I mean, I think it's a super fantastic deal. And to see fresh life back into it and the security that Mr. Lozano and his family provide just for the fact that they're there now. I mean, when there was nobody there, it was, you know, whatever people could get away with. Not that there was ever any crime or anything, but I just see it all as beneficial. And having been there for 12 years, if you guys have any questions as to the intimate ins and outs or traffic or anything like that, I'm here to answer any of those questions. I guess not. Okay, thank you guys. Appreciate it.
Thank you. Any additional members of the public who wish to speak? Okay. All right, at this time, is there any commission input? All right, at this time, the chair calls for a motion.
I'll do it. Okay, based on findings of fact, staff analysis, and agency comments, I'll move conditional approval of case SU 22-001 to operate a cannabis micro business producer establishment for the cultivation of cannabis with the conditions that any existing structure or new construction proposed be used for cannabis establishment will be required to meet all applicable construction, fire, and life safety codes, that the indoor growing of cannabis shall be limited to 200 mature plants, the transportation and shipping shall be by employees in their private non-commercial vehicles and shall be limited to the hours of 8 to 5 p.m. Monday through Friday, and that EBID permit will be applied for to cross the lower Chamberino lateral.
I'll second the motion.
Okay. Say motion Commissioner Zardes, second by Commissioner Lear. Any additional commission input? Okay. Eileen, would you call the roll, please?
Commissioner Zargis,
Yes.
Commissioner Herrera, Commissioner Lear,
Yes.
Commissioner Acosta,
Yes.
Chair Montañez.
Yes.
Thank you.
Thank you. Special use permit has been approved. Thank you all very much. Okay. Okay, our second agenda item, case number Z22-008. Okay, and the floor is yours. Thank you.
Good morning. Charlene, good morning.
Good morning.
Please state your name and address for the record.
Mary Charlene Santisteban, 3715 Haynes Road, Las Cruces, New Mexico, 88007.
Do you affirm the testimony you're about to give is the truth under penalty of law?
Yes.
Thank you.
Good morning, Chair and Commission. So we're going to agenda item 5B. It's 022008. It's a zone change. And the owner applicant is Juan S. and G.H. Kim, ACE Development Company, North Carolina, or NC, LLC, in care of Kat Kelly, who is here. The location is 555 Holman Road East, Las Cruces, New Mexico. The zoning is D1L, low-density residential. The request is for a zone change on a 78.3 acre parcel from a D1L, low-density residential zone to a T2 rural zoning district for a community solar generating facility to be known as Kim Solar Project. This is location map. It's down quite a bit a ways down Holman Road, and it's on the corner of Frascati, I think Frascati Avenue. And that's an aerial of the property. There's homes to the north of it, and it's surrounded by federal land on two sides. This is the zoning map. You can see that it's mostly residential and large lots that are currently held by the federal government. Prior to February 2nd, 2017, the subject property was zoned ER 3/4 residential district zone. This zone was intended for single-family site-built homes in low densities together with such recreational facilities, public uses, and accessory uses as may be necessary or normally compatible with residential surroundings. On December 13th, 2016, the Unified Development Code and the official zoning map of Doña Ana County was approved by the Board of County Commissioners and went into effect on February 2nd, 2017. When the subject property was zoned D1L, low-density residential, limited zone, which permits single-family residential site-built homes and manufactured homes, and related uses necessary to serve residential areas on a 1 acre lot minimum. The applicant is requesting a zone change on a 78.3 acre parcel from a D1 low-density residential limited zone to a T2 rural zoning district for a 26.0 acre community solar generating facility to be known as Kim Solar Project. The project would include up to 11,340 solar modules rated at 14,391 megahertz per year, about the equivalent of 1,250 to 1,500 homes, direct and mounted on a single-axis tractor photovoltaic system. equipment pad, switchgear, meters, disconnects, transformers, monitoring equipment. The panels will be supported by horizontal racking system attached to steel piers driven into the ground. Panels will sit approximately 15 feet above the ground at their maximum tilt. The panels will rotate east to west, tracking the sun, and will slope congruently with the topography of the site. Inverters will convert the direct current DC power to alternating current AC, which interconnects to El Paso Electric's existing distribution network along Holman Road. A 7-foot-high perimeter fence, agricultural or chain link based on county preference. The project will be assessed by a locked 20-foot-wide gravel road designed to bear the load of fire apparatuses, as well as include a turnaround for ease of access. Once the project is operational, it will not have any substantial traffic impacts, as it will be limited to operational and maintenance during the operation of the facility. The project will not require new infrastructure such as sewers, water supply, or additional public roads. Per the New Mexico Regulation Commission, community solar program promote participation in renewable energy solutions by allowing electric utility customers offset their monthly energy consumption, often via a credit on their monthly utility bills or purchasing or leasing a portion of the solar panels in an array. The Community Solar Act, or SB 84, was signed into law in April 2021 by Governor Michelle Lujan Grisham and is still under development. A community-based solar project might benefit individuals, businesses, nonprofits, and other groups who would not otherwise have access to solar installations. Community solar allows for equal access to the economic and environmental benefits of solar energy generation, regardless of the physical attributes or ownership of an individual's home or business. This is the site plan, and I believe you have a hard copy of the site plan available if you want to look at that.
Thank you.
Okay. The land use aerial, you see, it's a great big empty, it's desert scrub property. And of course, to the north, you do see the more lower density housing that's up there. This is, we went out on Tuesday and we took the sign is there, and this is facing west, the property. It's from Holman facing west. This is another picture of the property, the subject property. And this is the subject property also. And this is facing north. This is Holman Road south. And this is Foscati Avenue west. So you see, it was raining that day, so you see it's a pretty big right-of-way. And this is the surrounding land use. This is the higher density land use that's to the north. Staff analysis. Zone change evaluation requirements are the duties of the Planning and Zoning Commission, the general notice requirements, zone changes, and decisional criteria. 22 letters of notification were mailed to the property owners within the area of notice on July 28, 2022 pursuant to Section 350-203 of the UDC. Legal ads were placed in the Las Cruces Sun News on July 31st, 2022. Signs were posted on the property in a timely manner. Agenda posted on the DAC website. These are the signs that were posted on the property on both sides. And this is the area of notification of the property owners. Section 350-203D1, potential numbers of homes. No homes are being proposed. Population, there will be no impact on population with proposed use. The demographics, the applicant states that there would be no large impact to demographics. Potential traffic flows and impacts. During construction, traffic will increase in the area. However, this would be a temporary impact to the transportation network, lasting approximately 6 months during construction. Need for new commercial or residential activity. The proposed community solar project is neither commercial nor residential. As an unstaffed utility, it will not affect existing commercial or residential activity. The potential water and sewer needs. Water for construction, operation, and maintenance will be trucked in. The project will not require any sewer facilities. A portable toilet will be brought in for the construction phase and then removed from the property at construction completion. Existing infrastructure capabilities and the ability of existing systems to accommodate new development. There will be relatively little impact of the existing infrastructure capabilities in the area of the project. No sewer or water facilities are being proposed, and transportation network will see a temporary impact during the brief construction phase, but will then return to pre-project traffic patterns. The project will connect to the existing electric utility infrastructure and provide additional electricity to the area. Environmentally sensitive areas. Adverse environmental impacts have not been identified with implementation of the proposed project and applied environmental protection measures. The project does not include federal land, and a federal nexus has not been identified, and therefore would not be required to adhere to laws promulgated under the National Environmental Policy Act. Staff analysis. The impact of a proposed zone change on surrounding properties. There will not be any significant impact on surrounding properties. The property is surrounded by federal and low-density residential uses. The implementation of best management practices for the development. The applicant's preventative maintenance plan includes triannual site visits whereby trained technicians physically inspect each system and evaluate the condition and performance of key system components. Additionally, on an annual basis, all electrical equipment is inspected in further detail with electrical terminations and connections being carefully checked for corrosion, tightness, and thorough thermal imaging excess heat during operation. Staff concludes. This is to the comprehensive plan, the livability goals, and make decisions. Let's see. Affordability has other elements for which data are not yet available on a county-wide basis, but would be worth tracking, including affordable housing developments, workforce housing, near jobs, utility costs, and infrastructure costs. Strategy 3. The county should coordinate and incentivize the development of the renewable energy to achieve greater efficiency, capitalize upon the region's solar energy resources, and leverage other assets such as agricultural waste and endless use biofuels research. Goal 6, G2.2, make the county's economy more efficient. The county should provide resources and support to help households and businesses lower monthly expenses, save and bank money, create wealth, weather a volatile economy, and increase business and homeownership. Goal G2.2, Doñana County is revising its zoning ordinance into a unified development code. The code should address a number of issues, update codes to provide tools to support an appropriate physical structure. Green infrastructure. It's a holistic approach aimed at addressing climate resiliency on a county-wide scale by providing multiple benefits through green streets and roads that include street trees, bioswales, and rain guards, and providing for renewable energy production. Renewable energy. Most energy consumed in Doñana County is currently imported, and electricity dominated at 86% of the total energy costs. Some renewable energy facilities are located within the county, but the high resource potential for solar generation has not been fully leveraged. The county should coordinate and incentivize the development of the renewable energy to achieve greater efficiency, capitalize upon the region's solar energy resources, and leverage other assets such as agricultural waste and NMSU's biofuels research. Energy. The county has significant solar energy resources that can be leveraged for both energy independence and economic development. In addition to encouraging local solar projects, developing policies in support of greater energy efficiency and conservation will connect to available tax credits and state energy assistance programs. The decisional criteria for Miller. The Supreme Court of New Mexico is in Miller versus Albuquerque, September 9th, 1976, stated the fundamental justifications for an amending a mandatory or repealing zoning ordinance is a change of conditions, making the amendment or repeal reasonably necessary to protect the public interest. Also, a zoning amendment may cover and perfect previous defective ordinances or correct mistakes or injustices therein. Currently, the only use zone allowing for a renewable energy facility would be a I-1 light industrial zone. Staff feels that a transit zone such as the T2 zone with a special use permit would be more appropriate for the request use, since the T2 is still low-density residential and only allows for a minimum lot size of 2 acres. The SUP will only allow the proposed solar facility requiring a new application for any future expansion. The zone change is appropriate as there is compatible existing residential development and zoning designations, and is reasonably necessary to protect the public interest in providing community affordability, promoted even further by the passage of the Community Solar Act, SB 84. The property is outside of any incorporated municipal zoning authority, is within Doñana County, and the Planning and Zoning Commission has jurisdiction to review this case. The request this application is consistent with the requirements of the Unified Development Code, Section 350, 202.b, General Notice Requirements, and Section 350, 203, Zone Changes. The zone change request for T2 does satisfy Section 350, 203D. Decision criteria for a zone change is that the zone change is appropriate and reasonably necessary to protect the public interest. Currently, the only use zone allowing a renewable energy facility is a I-1 light industrial zone. Staff feels that a transit zone such as T2 zone with a special use permit is more appropriate for the request, since T2 is rural, low-density residential and only allows a minimum lot size of 2.2 acres. The SUP will only allow the proposed solar facility requiring a new application for any future expansion. The zone change is appropriate as there is compatible existing residential development and zoning designations, and is reasonably necessary to protect the public interest in providing community affordability for a solar utility, promoted even further by the passage of the Community Solar Act. Staff findings. The zone change is appropriate. I think I just read, no. The zone change is appropriate as there is compatible existing residential development and zoning designations and is reasonably necessary to protect the public interest. The existing zoning D1L allows single-family residential on lots of 1 acre or greater, while T2 zoning is rural transit area allowing for mixed use, including single-family residential home and agricultural buildings. Lot areas in a T2 zone must be a minimum of 2 acres, whereas lot areas in a T1L zone are a minimum of 1 acre or 6,000 square feet, with community sewer meaning that there is no potential for an increase in density for the area. The zone change to a T2 zoning district would not be considered spot zoning, as the proposed zone change is in harmony with the surrounding areas. The size of the development is appropriate for the area, and there will be a benefit to the community by increasing the availability of community affordability for a solar utility and will capitalize upon the region's solar energy resources. Staff findings: the zone change will not be insignificant conflict with the comprehensive plan and other adopted or approved county plans and amendments. Thereto is not in conflict with the following goals and actions of the comprehensive plan: livability principle, community affordability. Strategy 3, prioritize infrastructure planning and investment renewable energy. Goal G6.2, make the county's economy more efficient. Goal G2.2, ensure regulations support the plan requirements. Action A2.2, update codes to provide tools to support an appropriate fiscal structure. Based on the findings of fact, staff analysis, and agency comments, staff recommends approval of case number Z22-008, a zone change on a 78.3 acre parcel from a D1L low-density residential zone to a T2 rural zoning district for a community solar generating facility to be known as Kim Solar Project. Decisional criteria analysis: potential traffic flows and impacts. During construction, traffic will increase in the area. However, this would be a temporary impact to the transportation network, lasting approximately 3 to 5 months during construction. Need for new commercial or residential activity: the proposed community solar project is neither commercial nor residential, as it's considered a utility from a renewable energy source. As an unstaffed utility, it will not affect existing commercial or residential. Potential water and sewer needs: water for construction, operation, and maintenance would be trucked in. The project will not require any sewer facilities. A portable toilet will be brought in for the construction phase and then removed from the property at construction completion. Existing infrastructure capabilities and the ability of existing systems to accommodate new development. The project will connect El Paso Electric's existing distribution network along Holman Road, which is appropriate capacity to accommodate the level of power that would be generated. Environmentally sensitive areas in the vicinity, areas of historical significance, or areas that contain endangered or rare species of animal and plant life. Adverse environmental impacts have not been identified with the implementation of the proposed project. And applied environmental protection measures: the project does not include federal land, and a federal nexus has not been identified, and therefore would not be required to adhere to laws promulgated under the National Environmental Policy Act. The impact of proposed, we're doing this 2 tiers. We're doing the zone change first and then the special use permit. So I'm starting to address the SUP. The impact of the proposed SUP on surrounding properties: there will not be any significant impact on surrounding properties. The property is surrounded by federal and low-density residential uses. Implementation of best management practices for the development: the applicant's preventative maintenance plan includes triannual site visits whereby trained technicians physically inspect each system and evaluate the conditions and perform a key system components. Additionally, on an annual basis, all electrical equipment is inspected in further detail with electrical terminations and connections being carefully checked for corrosion, tightness, and through thermal imaging excess heat during operation. The property is outside any incorporated municipal zoning authority and is within Doñana County. Therefore, the Planning and Zoning Commission has jurisdiction to hear this case. Pursuant to Section 350-104, Administrative Authority and Duties, the Planning and Zoning Commission may receive, hear, and make final determinations to approve with conditions or deny applications for variances and special use permits as prescribed by and subject to the procedures established herein. Public notice requirements have been met as prescribed in Section 350-204, special use permits. Pursuant to 350-204D, decisional criteria, the SUP is consistent with health, safety, and general welfare of the residents of the county per the intent of the UDC. Pursuant to Section 350-501, zoning districts, Table 5.1, land use classification matrix A, renewable energy facility requires a special use permit in a T2 zone. Applicant shall obtain approval of a zone change, case number Z 22-008, in order for the approval of the SUP. A community solar facility will benefit the existing residential developments as it is a renewable energy source and has legislative approval, Senate Bill 84. Based on the findings of fact, staff analysis, and agency comments, staff recommends conditional approval of case number SU 22-021 to allow a 26-acre solar generating facility to be known as a Kim Solar Project with the following conditions. Applicant shall obtain approval of a zone change, case number Z22008, in order for the SUP to be approved. A solid wall or fence 6 to 8 feet high shall be constructed around the perimeter of the facility. A recommendation of decommissioning a site plan shall be submitted at the time of building permit submittal. The plan shall include the following: the anticipated means and costs of removing the solar farm, provisions for the removal of all structures and foundations, the removal of all electrical transmission components, the restoration of soil and vegetation, and a soundly based plan ensuring financial resources will be available to fully decommission the site. Facility equipment, including inverters, transformers, and switchgear, to be removed from their respective concrete pads if applicable, and recycled or returned to manufacturer for processing. Chain link fencing to be removed and sold or recycled. PV modules to be recycled or reused. Racking system to be cut, stacked, and recycled, resold, or reused. All concrete will be removed and recycled. AC and DC wiring that can be disconnected and removed from equipment and earth will be consolidated for recycling. On-site power poles and medium voltage wiring shall be removed unless poles were pre-existing. Reseeding of vegetation layer where impacts occurred. That's it for my presentation.
Thank you very much, Charlie. Any questions from the commission? Okay. I'm sorry, can we go back to just the zoning map, please?
Zoning map? Sure.
Okay, so this surrounding property here on, what's that, Cultivation Circle and Flatland, that is also T3?
Pardon me, which one?
Okay, surrounding the subject parcel, Flatland Road.
Frascati Road?
Call this Cultivation Circle. So that is all T3?
Yes.
Chair,
Yes.
no, Coloseo Circle, so the yellow dashed line,
Okay,
it's all D1L.
D1L.
I think that T3 is just kind of like a small outlier that's out there. But you can kind of see there where it says Flatland Road, you see kind of like that,
So there is an existing.
there might be like one T3 parcel out there, and that's just the
One
one that
T3
GIS picked up as a T3. But everything that's dashed out there, it's a D1L,
Okay,
including the subject parcel.
thank you. Thank you very much. Any questions from the commission? At this time, we'll hear from the applicant. Thank you again, Shirley.
Good morning. Please raise your right hand, state your name and address for the record.
Kat Kelly, 1421 Winona Court, Denver, Colorado, 80204.
Do you affirm the testimony you're about to give is the truth under penalty of law?
Yes, I do.
Thank you.
Did you come all the way down from Colorado?
I did. It didn't take me that long.
Well, welcome to New Mexico.
Thank you. I like being here. I just wanted to take a minute to thank you all for your time, and a special thanks to Charlene for such a thorough and thoughtful presentation. We appreciate the opportunity and are really excited to present our project. A little bit about Aes Clean Energy. We are a Fortune 500 company with over 800 employees with offices in Utah, Colorado, and Virginia. We've been in operation for over 40 years with 4.4 gigawatts of renewable energy in operation within the United States. We have the experience, technical ability, and financial backing to deliver this project. A little bit about community solar. It allows those who otherwise could not participate the opportunity to participate in renewable energy while benefiting from stable, secure energy prices and added grid stability. The New Mexico program itself consists of a 200 megawatt pilot program that will be reevaluated in either 2024 or 2025. There are 3 participating utilities, PNM, Xcel, which is also known as SPS, and El Paso Electric, which would be the utility for this particular project. It is an RFP, which will be released in December of 2022. It is scored based on a number of non-price-based factors. SB 84 and the subsequent program are heavily focused on serving the low-income community within New Mexico, which is one of the things we're the most excited about this particular program, with 30 to 50% of each garden serving low-income customers with a 20 to 30% savings guaranteed. This program will have significant benefits to New Mexico and its residents, and we are very excited to be participating within it. As far as the Kim project, it is a 5 megawatt single access tracker with 11,341 modules. We will be the owner operator for the life of the project, so as long as the project is here, Aes Clean Energy will be within the community. We are dedicated to getting it awarded and built while providing benefits to this specific county and the communities within it. As Mary stated, this zoning fits well with surrounding uses and zone designations while providing the landowner with some flexibility in the future, either if the project doesn't get built or if he chooses to do something else with it after the life of the project. Based on field surveys, our project does not impact any sensitive species, habitats, or cultural resources. And we have avoided the drainage on the northern corner with a 100-foot setback. We are good neighbors, low impact to the neighborhood, quiet, and relatively nice to look at. This project will have the ability to power 1,200 to 1,500 homes, provide tax revenue to the county without putting a strain on county resources, and provide energy cost savings to the residents of the county who participate in the program. We know this project will benefit the community, and we are really excited to be moving it forward. We appreciate your time.
Thank you very much, Ms. Kelly. Any questions from the commission at all? Okay. Albert, can I just touch again on this small T3 parcel? Do you know what it's actually used for? It's resident, but just with T3 zoning.
If you recall from the slide of showing Frascati, it's just mobile homes and that are out there on the north side of Frascati Avenue.
Okay, that sounds good. Thank you. Thank you very much. The only reason I just wanted to address the commission that I would, then I would question that is if Commissioner Zerniak were here, there'd be a question of spot zoning in this case. And since we do technically have a T3, or since we do technically have a small T3 parcel there, at this time, I don't see that being an issue. But thank you.
Yes, I know that I'm, what am I supposed to say?
Yes, go ahead. Let's go ahead and yes. Well, since you're already here, let's go ahead and.
Please state your name and address for the record.
It's Roxanne Alvarado Peterson, talking on behalf of 141 Colosseum Circle. I see that they talk so beautifully about,
do
it's
you-
not affecting any residents.
Do you affirm the testimony you're about to give is the truth under penalty of law?
True.
Thank you.
Thank you.
I'm sorry I have to rain everybody's parading the beautiful words they're saying, but fortunately, they're not really true because my mom's part of her property is on Colosseum right here. And, you know, there's resident areas there and there's flooding issues. And I'm not sure if you know what you said, the gravel is going to withstand because it's usually floods and the land erodes and it keeps going. So I was wondering, how is this going to affect my mother's property with all this solar energy? It's right there on this parcel. So how can they say that it's not affecting anybody when she's right here? So I want to, that's what I want, you know, to answer. Mhm. Right here.
You live on this side here?
Yes, we live right here.
Right, this is the whole property. You live here.
It's right here. And they're already installed all of the electrical grids.
Mr. Chair, I believe that it would be appropriate for those comments to be made, and then afterwards, if staff wants to address all the comments, they can go back.
Well, it's
Thank
great
you.
because
Make-
they're making a lot of
respond.
money and, you know,
So
buying the property.
you can go ahead and make your comments, and then afterwards, after all the public input, staff can address any questions from the commission.
Okay, but I was just concerned because they're saying beautiful words, and I'm thinking, well, wait a minute, but we're right here. How is it not affecting us? Okay? And that's what I wanted to bring up on the solar panels. Are they going to put them right next to my mother's property? And they said, are they going to erode onto the trailers or the houses that are there? Because the water does come down the mountain. And I was wondering how deep is going to be this electric grids going in to stay stable. So those are the questions that I have, because it could be a little dangerous. Okay.
Understood. Thank you. Any additional public comment? Okay, Charlene or Mr. Castillo, did you want to?
Yes, Chair, Chair Montañez. If you look on page 17 of your, actually page 48 of the entire packet, you do see an example of the proposed site plan with the main entrance being off of Holman Road. So during the building, if the SUP, if the zone change and the SUP does get approved, then the applicant's going to be able to proceed with the building permitting of the project. Part of that includes submittal of grading and drainage plans as required by our flood department. But basically, any water, any water flow that's created by any impervious area of this facility has to be maintained on site. It can't run off into Frascati Avenue or any other property. Everything that's created by this project has to be kept on site, and that has to be done and verified through a grading and drainage plan that's stamped by a New Mexico engineer and get approval from our county flood department. And I'll let the applicant address this, but I believe that the facility itself, it's going to be at least 30 feet away from their property lines. They're not encroaching on any other of the residences. They can explain a little bit more about what the community solar program entails when it comes to allowing surrounding property owners to hooking up to the program and I mean to the project and the facility. But I think they can address that. But the project itself, like I said, it's going to be at least 30 feet within their own property lines. Through our conditions, we are recommending that they have at least a 6 to 8 foot, either a solid or barrier. So at least the visual impacts are minimized.
So that can be in the form of just a chain link fence.
Chain
or
link
just a
fence
solid-
that's at least has some type of covering where you can't just look straight into the facility.
Any additional comment?
Yes, the construction and where the panels are going to be constructed and on the property is going to be closer to Holman Road, and that's a 78-acre property, and only 26 acres are going to be utilized for the solar panels, which will be on the east portion of the property, not the west.
Understood, thank you. So it would be, so it'd be more than 30 feet away from the concerned property. Okay, thank you. Okay. Any other questions from the commission? Commissioner Costa, do you have any questions on this case?
Mr. Chair,
Yes, sir.
Albert is correct on that. The SWIP plan, before any construction takes place on any commercial or residential areas in the county, a SWIP plan has to be submitted that takes care of drainage and all kinds of issues, the grubbing of the land. So there shouldn't be any concern regarding that issue. I feel confident that the Construction Industry Division will be able to take care of it before any permits are issued.
Chairman, I have a question.
Commissioner?
Staff, is there any current drainages or anything to prevent flooding in that area, in the immediate area?
I don't think I saw any comments from flood in regards to existing structures. Like Charlene was saying, we were out there on Monday taking pictures, and this was right after the rain. So we know that there is some flooding issues out there. The Flood Commission themselves, they don't, all their comments have to do with the fact that they're not located within a FEMA special flood hazard area. That it's outside of an area, outside of the 500-year floodplain. Let's see here. And then
Mr. Chair?
Commissioner?
Mr. Chair, that area there has always been susceptible to what is known as surface sheet flow flooding. But the SWIP plan would address that because these are civil engineers. They'll be able to handle all of that correctly where you don't have any flooding into Holman Road. And let's face it, on a south and north direction on Holman Road, especially on the east side, there's always a lot of sheet flow there, and there's always flooding in some areas. And so, I mean, and it's only because of the alluvial fan that comes out of the mountains on that east side. But I mean, all of these issues regarding flooding and taking care of flood issues, the SWIP plan would address all of that.
Thank you, Mel. Albert, did you have anything to add to that?
No, I was just going to finish up with that. If there was something out there, I'm sure the Flood Commission would have added it on their comments.
Okay. Thank you. Any further questions? Okay. Any additional public comment? All right. At this time, the chair will call for a motion. I'm sorry.
And Chair, just to remind you guys, similar to other cases that we've handled, it's going to be 2 motions, one for the zone change and then one for the SUP.
Albert, are we voting on the zone change first?
Commissioner Acosta, that is correct.
Okay, so at this time, we'll call for a motion on the zone change.
Mr. Chair, I'd like to, based on the findings and facts, staff analysis, agency comments, and staff, I would recommend that the commission approve case number Z22-008, which is a zone change on a 78.3 acre parcel from a D1L zone to a T2 zoning district in order to allow a 26 acre solar generating facility to be known as Kim Community Solar Project.
Second.
All right, motion's been made and second. And second, any further commission comments?
I thought Mel seconded it.
Oh, Mel. Commissioner Acosta, second. Okay. All right, Eileen, would you call the roll, please?
Commissioner Zargis,
Yes.
Commissioner Herrera,
Yes.
Commissioner Lear,
Yes.
Commissioner Acosta,
Yes.
Chair Montañez.
Yes. Okay. Call for a motion on case number SU 22-021.
That's a lot of reading. Okay. Based on the findings of fact, staff analysis, and agency comments, I'd move conditional approval of case SU 22-021 to allow a 26-acre solar generating facility to be known as the Kim Community Solar Project with the following conditions. First, the applicant shall obtain approval of the zone change in order for the SUP to be approved. Second, that a solid wall or fence, 7-foot-high perimeter fence, agricultural or chain link based on county preference. Third, a remediation and decommissioning of the site plan shall be submitted at the time of the building permit submittal. The plan shall include the following: an anticipated means and costs of removing the solar farm, provisions for removing of all structures and foundations, removal of all electrical transmission components, the restoration of soil and vegetation, and a soundly based plan ensuring financial resources will be available to fully decommission the site. Next, facility equipment, including inverters, transformers, and switchgear, will be removed from their respective concrete pads, if applicable, and recycled or returned to the manufacturer for processing. The chain link fencing to be removed or sold or recycled. That PV modules will be recycled or reused. Racking systems to be cut, stacked, and recycled, resold, or reused. All concrete will be removed and recycled. AC and DC wiring that can be disconnected and removed from equipment and earth will be consolidated for recycling. On-site power poles and medium voltage wiring shall be removed unless poles were pre-existing, and the reseeding of a vegetative layer where impacts occurred.
I'll second that motion.
Moved by Commissioner Zargis, second by Commissioner Lear. Any further comment? All right, Eileen, would you call the roll, please?
Commissioner Herrera, Commissioner Zargis,
Yes.
Commissioner Lear,
Yes.
Commissioner Acosta,
Yes.
Chair Montañez.
Yes. Okay. Zone
And
change.
Mr. Chair?
Yes, sir, Mr. Commissioner Acosta.
You know, for the general public, a good example of what these farms are going to be taking place throughout by state law that are allowed. If they want to have a more or less an idea of what they look like, just south of New Mexico State University's property there on the exchange between I-10 and 25, you can get a better idea of what they're going to be looking like. And if you want to look at some wind power, just take a trip between Hatch and Deming on the road going on the shortcut. Then you can get a better idea as to how these array of wind power generations look like. And so you can get a mental picture as to what these energy generating systems are going to look like. Thank you.
I agree. I agree, Mel. The view of that solar farm right south of University is a very good view and gives you a good picture of what that would look like. Thank you for that. All right, this time we'll move on to administrative approvals.
Chair, at this point, we don't have any administrative approvals.
No administrative approvals. Okay. Okay. Staff input.
I'll make one announcement. The SUP for Cervantes, you might remember that one on 205 Paloma Blanca. I know we went back and forth a couple times on that one, but that one got approved, yes, on Tuesday by the Board of County Commissioners. So if there is an appeal to that approval, then that's going to have to go to district court.
Thank you.
And Mr. Chair,
Commissioner?
before we adjourn, I'd like to know if the director's there, or Janine, can you give us an update on the crew, on the situation down there regarding the issues, what's going to happen there?
Mr. Chair and Commissioner
Yes.
Acosta, this is Christina. I don't have much more of an update than I provided last time, but the county is still moving forward with revising the joint powers agreement, which created CRUA. And so we do expect that at some point, the zoning for the CRUA area will come back to the county and will be under the UDC. And so I will provide a further update when I have more information on the timing and how that will work. Thank you.
The other question I have is what's going to happen to the water rights for that area? Is CRUA going to retain that, or is it going to be passed on to the county?
The plan right now is for CRUA to continue to exist as a utility. And so if everything moves forward the way it's being planned, the planning authority will come back to the county, but CRUA will still exist as a utility and they will maintain the water rights that they currently have.
And is Chris Lyons on board with the UDC in that area, especially now that we have some establishments there that are, there may not, well, they're grandfathered in, I'm sure, but I'm saying there are huge buildings back in there, and I was just wondering how's that going to be handled?
We are beginning to look at the zoning map right now so that we can apply zoning districts that are appropriate. Obviously, that will come to you as a commission to review those recommendations. There are a couple of areas there that are a little bit challenging because of the existing development there, the underlying standards in our old ordinance, and being compared to what's available in our current zoning. So we will obviously have to bring that before you and hold public hearings before anything is approved to be designated for those areas.
And the area that is quite interesting, has always been quite interesting for me anyway, that area between the that Border Patrol compound that's there traveling west to Columbus, on both the south and the north area there, how is it that we can keep big parcels there for industrial development?
Well, one of the things that we've discussed, which doesn't exist currently, is doing a master plan for that area. Once the county has planning authority again, then it would be one of the initiatives that I think staff would recommend is for us to do a master plan. Currently, because it's CRUA's jurisdiction, it would have to come from them, but it is something that's really needed in that area so that we can continue to manage growth in that area and make sure that uses develop as we would expect and as we feel appropriate for the area.
And the other one I have is in that area, with the border authority and the big companies and people that have quite a bit of wealth on the Chihuahua border there, has anybody from the commission or contacted any of these people to see how their plans are to develop in that area so we can complement basically, some kind of an industrial zone in there like they did in Waterville?
We actually have very regular communication with a lot of the stakeholders in that area. And so, I think everybody's on the same page on what we expect to develop there and what people, especially developers and landowners, are looking toward. There is quite a bit of activity, and so the timing of that, I believe, is also crucial, which is one of the reasons that the county manager is trying to expedite the revision of that joint powers agreement. We want to get ahead of the development so that we have some policy guides in place.
And has the border authority, Pacheco, contacted the Board of County Commissioners? Have they had any meetings regarding this issue that's coming up?
Jerry Pacheco and the BIA, as I mentioned, are in regular contact with the county, and they work very well with Mavita, who is consulting with the county on economic development. And so although you don't see those projects because they go to CRUA, there is quite a bit of communication, and there's always cooperation among all of those different stakeholders. So I don't think there will be any surprises, and I think everybody knows, the goal that we're working toward, and everybody, I believe, is on the same page.
Okay, thank you.
All right. Any additional commission input, staff input? All right. Who would like to adjourn? All right. We are adjourned. Thank you very much.